Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode, I think it's 3, but I'm not really sure anymore, of Rugby Nation 2020. We've ticked off with the Brumbies. We checked in with the Rebels last week. And this time around, Beth Newman, you've rallied up two of the live wires out of the Waratahs.
Yeah, that's right. Just going to the rugby heartland of the eastern suburbs. But interesting there, Jake Gordon and Mitch sitting in their Coogee house. But I think there's a little bit of a souvenir behind you guys as well from across town, maybe.
Are you talking about the skateboard? Yeah. I put that there on purpose anyway. But I any chance I get to talk about Newtown, I give them a plug. So that's that skateboard. I won it in a skating comp back when I was 12 years old. So I've kept it ever since. Sure, he doesn't have any culture coming from Scott, so I just thought I'd bring the Newtown across with the Coogee.
Give us a rundown at the moment, fellas. Obviously, the two of you live with one another. Who else is in the house with you?
We got the great Lockie Swinton.
Hang on a second. The great Lockie Swinton?
Yeah, he'll be happy with that. I'll start off nice, get him in early, and then we'll get him later.
Sure.
So he's been good, and we've got a bit of our gym stuff here. So we've seen a lot of Tom Robertson as well, sort of in and out, coming in to train by himself, of course. It's been good.
And Jakey, how are you going, mate? I know that you really bounce around on the field and you're a real live wire. How are you going being restricted to the confines of that house alongside Short and Swinton?
Oh, yeah, I was saying before, me and Shorty have been doing each other's heads in. So this is probably the longest we've been together for the next sort of week. But, it's been tough. I bleached my hair, obviously, playing a silly game of Uno with Mitch. It was a one-off game. Loser has to bleach their hair, and I got done. And then I realised shortly after that every other dickhead's doing it. So I decided to shave it. But I would say isolation's probably getting the better of me at the moment. So, I'm excited to, with the prospect of maybe getting back to train with the guys is pretty exciting.
What colour did you do the hair? I didn't see that. Did you post it?
It was bleached, yeah. So
ugly.
Almost like a yellow.
Hey, Mitchy, how did you nail him with the Uno cards? Are you a big fan? Are you a big fan of the reverse? Like, what's your go-to Uno card?
Not a big fan. It's a big player now.
Yeah, the change of cards. I'm not sure what the card's actually called, but the one you can put down and swap decks with the opponent.
Oh, that's like the new age Uno card.
So
yeah.
They're inventing a whole lot of new rules.
Yeah, I've been a victim of it. I've been done a couple of times with that and filthy. I'd probably throw the toys out of the bar. So I think that's where Jay came up with the idea to sort of put a bit on the line. So I was pretty happy that when I got him. So I don't know, I can't remember the card exactly.
You can't play that card with Swinton up punching you. You can have it.
So yeah, I think a few late +2s in the piece, which was good.
Oh, it's good stuff. That's good stuff. I'm glad to hear that you got the better of Jakey with that. Hey, Beth, what we normally do, as you know, at the top of each Rugby Nation, we do the setup with the boys, have a chat, and then you kind of get into the nitty-gritty around the news of the week. Would you like to run us through what has been a huge week? And Jake and Mitch and I can just sit back and watch you rattle through it.
Yeah, it's been crazy, hasn't it? It's hard to believe we were sitting here a week ago and, not a whole lot was doing. But in the last 7 days, we've seen, a little bit of movement at Rugby Australia, to say the least. We started with last Wednesday. We saw a letter from 11 and then 10 former Wallabies captains pushing for a bit of change at Rugby Australia, calling for, more commitment to community rugby and a few other things. And that, created a lot of waves to the rugby community. And then, within 2 days after that, Raelene Castle also handed in her resignation, which, I think came as a shock to a lot of the rugby community. And, not only for the decision, but just the speed at which it came. And, late on a Thursday night, it broke on, the ABC 7:30 report. And then just, everything that's flowed on from there has been, I think a lot of people are still, in a bit of shock about that decision and about the fallout from that. But it was really interesting, after Raelene Castle decided to resign, the next day, the interim chairman, who's now the executive chair for the time being, Paul McLean, spoke to media on the Friday. And it was really interesting, some of the comments that he made about Raelene Castle and her tenure, and specifically the kind of bullying is how he described it from, people both, in public spaces, but also on social media, that kind of, became quite personal over her tenure, and probably something we haven't seen with a lot of other, leaders in the country. And I don't know, I personally thought it was very interesting hearing him talk about that and seeing the reaction and the conversation that's come out since then about that. And, you know, Jake and Mitch, I guess in this time of isolation, it's, you know, something that has really struck me a little bit is that sort of social media use for good, but also for bad. And I'm interested to know how you guys kind of handle that as well, like being footy players and, you know, when the Tars are going well or not so well, like people always have their views, right? And you know, I'm just interested to know, like, how do you guys kind of handle that balance of connecting with people, but also, you know, trying to not get engaged in sort of the other side of, you know, social media and that sort of thing?
Yeah, look, I do feel sorry for her. Like, you know, especially I've noticed with the Waratahs when we haven't been going that well, it's hard. You know, I try and make a conscious effort not to read that stuff. I've actually deleted my Facebook app because Facebook seems to be the worst. You know, you just scroll down the feed, like you're just browsing, and then you come across a Raw article, for example. They seem to do it quite a lot. I don't know who the lemon is that runs that, but anyway, and you just come across, you know, just stuff like that, and it is hard. Like I can imagine, we're lucky enough for a team. We probably don't get singled out, but as an individual, I you know, I don't think that's fair on anyone. But you know, I think, yeah, we make a conscious effort at home not to read that stuff. You know, I remember when I first started playing, you're young and, you know, you're excited playing professional rugby and you want to be involved in all of it. But yeah, you know, it's if you end up reading it, it's such a roller coaster. You know, you might have someone say something good about the Waratahs and then the next week you lose, and you know, they're talking about burning their jerseys, and you know, it's just not worth it in the end. And you know, to be completely honest, I feel sorry for Raylene, and I don't think that's fair that anyone cops that sort of abuse over social media.
I was stunned at the relentless nature of it from the public, forgetting everything else that happened at a corporate and RA level. Just the way she was absolutely smashed week in, week out, the same stupid comments over and over again. You're right, Beth. I can't ever remember anyone coming under such fire, and a lot of it was just really unwarranted. Like even when that blow up with Czech at the World Cup became apparent, it's hard to, you know, align who is more at fault. But she took the brunt of that online from most people. She was absolutely clubbed. I think unfairly. There's obviously two sides to that. So. I just hope that on the other side of it, that she can just let it go out the back door, because you don't want to be delving back into it. And I reckon you're right, Jakey. I reckon you guys could sit there, having had a good game with the Tars. You could go through 10 comments, and I reckon 8 of them might be positive. Let's say 2 aren't. I bet those 2 that aren't hang with you. Do you reckon that's a fair way of looking at it?
No, I agree. Yeah, I think the 2 negative comments would have a bigger effect, I'd say, than the 8 positive ones. I don't know how Mitch feels. We all talk about it at home, and yeah, you know, when we're sitting around the lounge room, you know, there'll be someone that will make a little comment. We'll be on our Facebook, what about this thing? And then we sort of like, don't read it. And then we sort of move on. And if you start reading it, you get booed, and then we try to nullify the hate coming through.
So run us through now the output that's going to be required from the board and where things lay, Beth, in the next little bit. So Paul McLean is just there as in an interim capacity. He's out in July. What's likely to happen on the chairman front? Repointing there, like where does it all sit now? Because I'm sure Mitch and Jake are both sitting there puzzled as well, because it's hard to work out if they're in lay terms.
Yeah, well, it's a good question, because I think no one knows exactly where it's going to land in the long term. But Paul McLean, who was already in an interim chairman role with Cameron Klein stepping down, has now taken on that kind of dual executive chair role, so doing the CEO kind of responsibilities and being the chairman. But that's only expected to last, you know, a little while. They've been having discussions already about who might take over as an interim CEO, whether that's someone on the board or someone internally at Rugby Australia. And then down the track, Paul McLean's supposed to be standing down, he said on Friday, before July 31, so July 31 at the latest. So we'll see a new chairman of the board as well. as well as obviously a new CEO, but that might not happen until, further down the line again, because of just the nature of the process of executive searches and that sort of thing. So, it is still very open, and, there's been people put their hands up, and obviously there's always a lot of speculation, but I think, it's really a very open sort of scenario now, and not many people know exactly, where we'll end up in 6 months' time.
All right, well, let's now turn our attention to the on-field stuff. Fellas, let's go through it. What's happening from your side in terms of where you see things kicking off again? Who are you going to be playing against? How does it all look? Have you been briefed on what the Waratahs' next step might look like?
In terms of sort of dates of competition and whatnot, not really, but I think the boys are sort of hopeful that we'll be back in sort of soon. I hope sort of next month. But yeah, we haven't heard a heap, but just basically pretty much just staying in best shape possible, I guess. Training sort of, we've got our programs to hit and do. We've got the boys to do it with, which has been good. Just basically just sort of trying to stay in best possible nick and be ready for when that. We're not really sure still on the date and what the comp may look like. I'd imagine it would be, something domestically, something that was obviously set up earlier before this hit. Which would be good. I think the boys are just hungry for anything really, just to play some competitive games would be nice. So hopefully, in a month's time or so, to be even just back at training would be great. Even in smaller groups or whatever it is, that'd be great.
Obviously, you guys got that gym work in there. You've had Throbber come around, Todd Robertson, Swinton. Did Jake intentionally wear a short sleeve tee today after doing a run of reps this morning?
Well, I actually looked 100 push-ups behind my bed before.
I bet you did. So we touched on Swinton at the start. Let's just stay with your roomie there, Big Lockie Swinton. He's made a bit of an impact, fellas. What's he like around the house? We touched on it before coming on air that he's a bit punchy when it comes to his online video games. Is he a lunatic in the house like he is on the park?
Yeah, he's a lunatic. Yeah, in short, yes, he is. I'm a bit of a standards sort of. I like to maintain some standards around the house. Just simple things, putting plates away and whatnot. He knocks stuff over constantly. He can't control. I don't know what it is. He's a big wrecking ball, basically, and he just every day will knock water over. He'll knock it over on the carpet and just not worry about wiping it up or plates and whatnot. So yeah, it kills me. And Jake's onto it as well. It's not good enough, and he knows it. But for some reason, every day there's just something that he'll break or just wreck.
The most simple thing. If your urine touches the seat of the toilet, you wipe it up. He goes, mate, it's only a little bit of wee. I don't care if I'll just. What?
Oh my God.
No. No. That's never okay.
Nutshell. You don't want to push it too far. When he starts raising his eyebrows, that's probably, you've given him a bit too much shit, so it's time to relax him. He is to be fair to him, he is a really good roommate. Like, he's a lot of fun. He's pretty good to be around a lot of the time.
At least no one's breaking in. At least you don't need to fork out for a security system.
We set up scenarios all the time. It's like, okay, what happens? We all run to my room and we leave him down there by himself.
Is the panic room now just him sitting in the corner playing video games with you nestled at his feet?
He's been loving the gym though. I will say that. When we raided the TARS gym on the day we got sent home, I think we came out of there pretty loaded. Swince was leading the charge there, and he hasn't looked back since. He's happy. It's his happy place down there at the moment.
So he's been going well. And Beth, I know that you've got your eye on a couple of other TARs who, before the break, were actually starting to really work into form as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably a mixed start to the year for you guys. But who do you reckon maybe hasn't got the credit that they deserve from a good start to the year?
I've been pretty impressed with Will Harrison. I think, being 19, 20 years old, to lead, the Waratahs, especially a team with, every team's got big personalities and in a position that, is so crucial to be able to call plays. And there's a lot of pressure, as I said, in that position. I think he's I love, Shorty could probably back me up here, but defending with him, he's a great defender. He puts his body on the line. He gives 100% in everything he does, and he's not a big guy either. And he's really athletic, and I think, coming from playing with Bernard Foley, who obviously was a great player, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I think he's handled it really, really well.
And I guess, Mitch, you've played a lot of footy with Will, like at Randwick and, now at the Tars. What have you kind of seen in him, as he's kind of come through the ranks?
Yeah, I think he's just how laid back he is with it, like regardless of the level. I think even coming into first grade, he was young, and I thought, he might be, that'll push him there. But he just seemed to just be so relaxed throughout. And then, obviously Jake spoke about his defensive stuff. That was always it was always there at first grade level. And then just to come up in Super Rugby and just pretty much play as if he's that kid running around in the park at a young age, I think it's refreshing for the group. And obviously he's just really thrived there. And I think he's not really looking back, to be fair to him. He's grabbed it with both hands, I think. And so it's good to see him grow and be able to sort of, I suppose, just match it with everyone.
I know that Rob Penning's obviously a big fan of his. Tell me, guys, how's Rob settled in? I don't mind saying that I like that he'd call you guys out around some of those performances that weren't great, and then you kind of delivered on the other side that game against the Lions, where you played some beautiful footy, scored some wonderful tries. Seemed to be off the back of some of his revving up. He looks and sounds like a guy who doesn't sort of take any guff or any I guess not going at 100.
Yeah, I really like Rob. I think he's been really good. I think he probably, I say it all the time, if you get a coach that yells at you all the time, it loses effect. I think he picks his moments really well. And I would have to agree that we deserved a revving up after some of those games that we performed this year. But yeah, as a coach, first minute at the Waratahs, really good guy, socially, understands players, and wants you to express what you're good at. If that may be Will Harrison's defending, or who's another, Lockie Swinton's tackling. He's really big on bringing your strengths to the game and involving them. Almost. Putting you in a position to be able to perform them, and loves attacking rugby. As you can see, probably didn't execute in some of our games. The wet games, playing the Rebels and Blues, probably didn't show that as much. But you look at the Crusaders game, the Lions game, parts of that Brumbies game, probably had a few too many errors. But there's glimpses of attack that is quite impressive. I think we only probably matched that against the Lions for that long period of time. But that's probably more towards the game plan that us as a team and him as a coach like. It was just disappointing that we couldn't reflect that in more games. But as a coach, yeah, I really like him. I think he's a really good coach.
Nice one. The other thing that's sort of pumped up this week that's become more clear in terms of it already commenced is Shute Shield. So do we all think that there might be an opportunity where Shute Shield might precede the Waratahs playing? Is there a chance that we'll see Gordon back with Uni and Short at Randwick and the rest of the guys filtered back through Shute Shield before we hit some kind of a state level competition? Geez, that would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think, I'd love it. I think everyone would probably enjoy it. I don't know how it'll work structure-wise, but yeah, I think everyone loves playing back at their clubs. And if that's the level that we need to get back to straight away to get rugby up and going again, I'm sure everyone's all in. But yeah, I'd love it. It'd be good to get down to Coogee Oval at 3 o'clock. It's a good place to be.
Who would you most like to play against? With a green jersey on your back, who would you most like to, or a blue and gold one hooped, who would you most like to line up against at full strength in Sydney Shute Shield? And let's hope that it's replicated across all the other states as well, the best go back. Who would you like to take on?
Oh, definitely Uni for me.
It's a team.
Mainly just for the household as well, but also just like, when I think a few years back when we played them, when a lot of the guys were back, Tolu was playing, a lot of the rep guys were back. I think it might have been a test window for some reason. And yeah, the boys got back and we had a couple, we were probably a bit younger with Dave Horwitz and Kellaway and whatnot. But yeah, playing those games, I remember them probably the most just because they're, it's stacked and usually the atmosphere is unreal. Everyone sort of gets around it and knows that there's pretty much a super sides rolled out there on a club field. So it's, probably those. That would be probably for me the pick. And then obviously if you can pull off a win there, it's good.
And they're talking about, the season going into November as well. Like, how would you guys like to see that grand final under lights, kind of going into summer?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. I haven't actually put too much thought into how it's all going to work out, but I like the idea of Shute Shield. Obviously, I've been lucky enough to play in a few of the finals. It's a great atmosphere, a great game to play in. November time, it'd have to be on the lights. Got to be hot by then. But I'm with Shorty. I remember, 2016, we played a game down at Coogee. We actually lost that game, but across that park there were Super Rugby players everywhere, and we had traditionally. Randwick Uni is a very big game. And another one that's sort of formed over the times, East v Uni. That's another big one now. And
is that just because it's generally held on Ladies' Day, Wallara?
That's probably not but yeah, I think over the years, there's a lot of mutual friends between the teams. And I don't think anyone really wants to be shown up. But if you look at it now, I think about the back line that East would roll out with. Possibly Kirtley at fullback, Alex Newsom, Malakoff, Kenny in the centres. I think you've got Jack Maddox also who will play anywhere. You've got Stanners. You've got Jack Grant who play at halfback. You've got Mac Mason who'll play at 10. That's a pretty impressive back line.
That many Super Rugby players starting to sound like a uni outfit, Jake. Look out.
I know. I don't know.
Hey, before
to make it fair, you can't. Everyone seems to complain when Uni win. They're pretty.
And I'm not any different, so you know how it is.
Did you go for the Rats?
No, don't start that. Listen, we're going to bounce. Last week we had Big Cobus and Ruan from the Rebels try and pick out some of their classic games for the week following. This week we've already got lined up. What have we got, Beth, lined up this week? I think maybe the Radiki Samo Tri Game 2011 Tri Nations. Is that right?
That's the one we showed that last weekend. But we've got a bit of an open slate. We can take some requests this week
so we're taking requests from you two. You can pick one each. Any Waratahs, Wallabies, or Shute Shield games you'd like to see from the archives?
Okay. We got one game each.
One game each.
I'm going to pick. I think it was back in 2014 or 15.
Right.
Waratahs play the Hurricanes over at the Cake Tin.
I think it was 2014. I think it was your premiership year. I'm pretty sure.
Plays 40 or 50 minutes and runs havoc.
That's a good shout. That's a good game.
It's a good game to watch, especially for any number 8. It's
yes. Okay. 2014. We've got that for the fan man. That will be his homework.
Over the last sort of 10 years would be fine as well.
Sure. What do you got, Shorty?
What have I don't know. That's probably already been played. I like that grand final game, the Crusaders won in 2014. That was probably a big one, but it's probably a bit obvious. It's probably all I've got, to be honest.
Of every game anywhere in the world, you've got one game.
2018 quarterfinal, Highlanders, Waratahs.
Yeah, that was a cracking game.
With 22 minutes to go, we end up winning, I think, roughly.
There you go.
There you go. Jake's on it for me.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so we're going to leave that with the fan man to pick out those two for you. We'll roll those in next week. I think they'll go. So 2014 Tars v Canes in the tin and 2018 quarterfinal Tars v Highlanders. Fellas, hopefully we see you back out on the park training soon, and hopefully we see you on the field more importantly. You've been good chat. I've been very impressed with these two, Beth Newman.
That's right. It's the Coogee magic. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the Coogee magic, of course.
Coogie's got a TikTok if you want to see it.
Yeah, hit me. What do you got?
I will get back to you next week.
We'll feature it on the show next week, yeah.
All right, fellas, we'll let you go look after the big bear, Lockie Swinton, in the house. And as I said, we'll see you soon. Thanks for stopping by Rugby Nation.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.